Normally I'm pro law enforcement, but as we have to approach things objectively, let's see if that might change in this particular instance. Hey guys, it's your buddy Moo Juice Magic here. Now, like I said, I'm normally on the side of law enforcement. You know, most of the time I see these videos and I can look at it objectively, as we should look at everything that way, and not just through the glasses of whatever community I'm living in or lifestyle choices I've made, which haven't always been the best. You know, admittedly, I have a past. I'm not innocent about everything. But in the end, I have more positive to say about law enforcement than negative, just reality. But we have an article today and a video that we're going to get into because everything needs to be addressed individually because individuals are involved. And we each make decisions moment by moment that can affect the outcome of what goes on around us. And this is something to really think about as we watch this video. So, OKC Vietnamese community hurt by video of officer accused of excessive force following traffic stop. This comes from Coco5.com, Coco5 News, ABC or whatever, Coco.com, whatever. It's a news site, obviously. Footage released on Friday shows the moments many are accusing an Oklahoma City officer of using excessive force. In the video, taken nearly 2 weeks ago, a 71-year-old man can be seen being detained after a traffic violation. It's a story many have been curious about whether the officer used excessive force. The man has been hospitalized ever since, and the video is many people calling for justice. In the footage, the officer and the local Vietnamese man started arguing about a traffic accident and a citation for an improper U-turn and ended up with the man on the ground. A lot of things do happen like this in traffic stops, guys. A lot of it breaks down to your demeanor, the officer's day. You know, all of these things play a part in these interactions with law enforcement. Everything's going to be handled differently. A different situation's a different situation, guys. It's just a reality. There is some very, very much uncalled for excessive force, and I think, as a community, we are hurt by that, says Town Nguyen, president-elect of the Vietnamese American community of Oklahoma. If I said that wrong, guys, I apologize. I have no idea how to speak Vietnamese or how to pronounce 99% of the things that I hear or read in English or other languages. Nguyen said tens of thousands of Vietnamese people call Oklahoma City their home. Not called. They didn't leave over the incident, guys. I don't know why I said called. We are part of Oklahoma's history. We belong to Oklahoma's history, Nguyen said. He says he's disappointed to see what the body-worn camera footage, Jesus, Moo, talk today, showed after reading the police report. Some of the statements that I saw doesn't seem to jive with what the body cam portrayed. It could have been taken in a different way and a different approach instead of having to body slam a 71-year-old Asian male who has language barriers, Nguyen said. Nguyen said he and other Vietnamese people have been talking with Oklahoma City police this week, going over what's next and what needs to be done. Now, let's have a look together and see what this video shows and just kind of break it down, because it is, you know, a bit aggressive in my opinion, but we'll get there. So here we have, obviously, the after effect. You know, we're going to watch what leads up to this. We're going to part of what leads up to this. I couldn't find full video of the whole confrontation, which I would have preferred, but here we are.
Not like that.
Sit down.
No.
You sit up. Get on the ground.
Okay, so yes, he was being aggressive. Mr. Wu was being aggressive. That's just the reality. He was being standoffish, aggressive. He was getting his finger up and telling the officer to shut up. There's a lot of reasons that this can happen. There's a language barrier, said before, and that can cause a lot of frustration. If you have a hard time communicating with someone, it's an incredibly frustrating situation. Think about when you're talking to someone on the phone, like in tech support, and they have a hard time understanding understanding what you're describing to them. And I'm not talking just about a language barrier here. I'm talking about the ability to express what's happening in your situation to someone else with words when they can't just see what you're doing and dealing with. It becomes a problem. In this situation, we have a traffic stop. It seems like Mr. Wu made an illegal U-turn, was pulled over. As for why it got heated from there, I don't know. I'll see if I can find more footage of it later and maybe do another breakdown. But in the meantime, this is what I have to work with now. There's always more to the story than what goes on. I'm not justifying anybody in this situation. I'm not saying that this treatment of Mr. Wu was appropriate. There's another camera angle we're going to look at here and kind of break it down from there. And that's going to come, I believe, from the police dash cam or from a light cam or something. And his head hits the ground first. While a very successful technique on the officer's side of things, some good judo there, not the greatest thing for a 71-year-old man to experience, and that is the earth falling at you at a high rate of speed head first. It does seem a bit excessive to me to a degree. It also could have been a matter of the officer not realizing just how fragile the man was. I've had this happen myself where I saw a shoplifter at a store and I went to tackle him and he looked larger than he was because of his clothing. And I know the situation's a little different, but as soon as I got mid-air with the guy, like I expected to impact someone that weighed, within 10 pounds of my weight. And what I ended up hitting was someone with enough clothing to look that big, but was really like a shaved rabbit without the clothing on. To the degree that when we're mid-air, I had thoughts going through my brain of if we land like this, he's going to die. And I was able to cradle my arm up under his neck before we hit the ground. That was just the thought process and something that happened so fast. The officer is in a different situation. I was tackling a shoplifter. The cop is in a job where his life is on the line all of the time, and every instant you could be getting killed. Yeah, I know he's a 71-year-old man. I understand that. I'm not taking that away from the fact. But you guys also have to look at the possibility that could be the different possibilities that could arise from that 71-year-old man being something you don't know. You never know. Okay, I know it sounds kind of like an argument just to defend the cop, but that's not what I'm doing here. I do think that it was excessive. Whether it was excessive intentionally or not is a whole nother story. I don't know that his intentions were excessive. I do think his technique was a little too good for that situation, as was my case. When I went to spear that guy down, the technique was better than it needed to be applied in the situation. It was kind of like sandblasting a soup cracker. And that's kind of what I would equate this to. Whether or not the officer's intention did this out of frustration is a different story. Because right now, according to this, it looks kind of like the officer's just standing there thinking, I think I just killed an old guy on accident. I mean, I don't see all the body language from the officer, but you do see the after effect. I'll probably have to blur most of this out. I mean, this one I'll keep in. But Mr. Vu is, in the hospital still.
Sit down. No.
And honestly, this probably could have been completely stopped with Mr. Vu not doing that. I'm sorry to say that, guys, but there are, it's excessive, yes. The real question is, was the officer's intention to actually cause harm? And that I couldn't tell you without talking to the officer about seeing a follow-up. I think that he tossed something a lot lighter than he thought he was tossing. I know that sounds weird, but if you haven't been in that situation, you absolutely won't understand, so shut the fuck up about it. It's that simple. If you've never been in a conflict like this, you don't understand what you're talking about when you watch this. I'm not justifying this at all. I've never been a law enforcement officer. I don't know what it's like to have to keep my head on a swivel all the time, that's actually not true. I've had jobs where I had to do that. But I was never a cop. So the people that didn't like me for a number of reasons that I wouldn't see them in day-to-day possibly. And if they did, they probably wouldn't remember me 9 times out of 10. So was it justified? I don't know how this goes. In the end, the officer will probably get a suspension if he hasn't yet, at least, bare minimum. Mr. Wu will probably end up suing and winning for excessive force against the city. I'm sure that will happen. Hopefully he recovers well. This is an unfortunate incident in general. I really hope him a speedy recovery, but in the end, guys, it's one thing to remember, you might feel comfortable getting in the face of a law enforcement officer. It's not a good idea for a number of reasons. Even if that officer's intentions weren't to hurt him, You have to think this guy is in a high stress job that you probably couldn't understand if you tried. Again, not to justify it, he still chose to be in that career, but a modicum of respect is just nice to have. There's also a thing of respecting your elders. I've seen older people get mad at younger cops when the older person violated the law, and they get mad at the cop for daring to not have enough respect for their elder to allow them to do it. It's a weird catch 22. I'm not saying at all that's what happened. I think this is a language barrier situation and a culture situation. I don't think that Mr. Wu was quite used to dealing with law enforcement. I'm sure he's been an upstanding citizen. Most Vietnamese folks that I know are very upstanding citizens, very great members of society, community, very cool folks, and very nice people for the most part. I mean, that's just a reality that I've known dealing with Vietnamese folks that I've known. So I do hope Mr. Wu gets a speedy recovery. What do you guys think, though, in the comments below, without getting too aggressive about or pissy about it? I know you might not see my point of view on it, and I'm trying to be objective about this for a reason. I want to get down to, like, I don't just want to jump on somebody and cost a guy a job because he overcalculated or undercalculated a situation. Because that can happen. And if you don't study martial arts, you don't understand that. And that's just a fact. You just don't. If you've never been in a fight with somebody, you have no ground to stand on in this situation. If you don't understand how the bodily mechanics work in these things, I'm sorry, your opinion doesn't really matter. But I do want to hear it. How do you think this could have been avoided in the long run? Void of having like a big breakdown of like we can have the shallow argument of well we just need to train officers to speak the languages and stuff. Okay, you're wanting someone to learn a whole new language in the country they were born in. It's not an acceptable answer. I'm just going to tell you now. I wouldn't go to South Korea and expect people to just coddle to me because they speak English. I would hope that they would be kind enough to help me out. At the meantime, I'd also understand when we're talking, they'd probably teach me words wrong to make fun of me, and I would probably I'd probably get a kick out of it if I wasn't getting in a fight over it, you know. So you have to understand, guys. There's a lot going on to this, but I want to know what you guys think. And also, everybody in the comments, wish Mr. Wu a speedy recovery, man. I really do think this is a matter of just miscommunication, poor communication on both ends. Again, what do you think? Let me know. I'm your buddy Muju's Magic, and I'm gonna go and pull what's left of my hair out while I try to finish my my diamond camos on Black Ops 6. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. It goes a long way to help. We're almost to 100. I appreciate everybody. And yeah, again, Mr. Wu, I hope you have a speedy recovery. And I hope this all gets sorted out in a nice, civil manner. I don't know the Vietnamese community to uprise and burn cities down when something like this happens, though, thankfully. They're pretty chill people. So, like I said, a lot of respect to that community. Muji's Magic out.